Beautiful. Shabbat Shalom and good morning. We start with words of gathering, words of Hine Matov Umanaim, how good and pleasant it truly is for all of us to be together. Hine Matov Umanaim, Shevet Anu Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Umanaim, Shevet Anu. You can sway, it's good. Hinei matov, shevet anu gam yachad. Hinei matov, shevet anu gam yachad. Hinei matov umanayim, shevet anu gam yachad. Hinei matov umanayim. Shevet anu gam yachad.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We'll try that one more time. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Oh, did you feel that ruach? That was beautiful. Thank you so much. Brachim habaim, blessings and welcome to Temple Beth Am. We're so grateful that you're here with us on this really special morning. I'm Rabbi Ruth Slotnick. I'm joined by Rabbi Dana Benson, and we are so grateful to Alex Chadsey for your beautiful musical accompaniment, and to Jamie Schur, who's helping us connect with our friends at home. But we are also incredibly grateful to our two young people who are being called to Torah as Mitzvah, and who will be leading us in prayer, leading us in Torah. And so we'll ask that you do a few things. First, maybe we'll just take a moment, maybe sit up a little more, whether you're here in the sanctuary or at home, and maybe take a nice deep breath in and out, because it's been described that Shabbat is a cathedral in time, that this is a space that could be like any other. This is a moment that could be like any other. But together we make this moment special. We make it sacred by bringing the fullness of ourselves to this moment. And one of the ways that Judaism teaches that we can acknowledge that every moment has the potential to be extraordinary, to be sacred, is by sharing blessings. And so we are so grateful to a wonderful member of our community who is a teacher and also a friend to our Mitzvah students. And so I'm going to invite Danielle Price to come forward. Danielle is going to get us started on some of those blessings that will help awaken us to the sacredness of this day.
We continue with the Nisim B'chol Yom, our daily miracles. This series of prayers can help remind us of the small things that we may take for granted. We can use these blessings to add to our awareness of the many miracles in our lives. We are on page 80. We will begin each line together, chanting in the Hebrew, but please feel free to end each line in Hebrew or English, as is your choice. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lesech vivina, lehavin ben yom uvein laila. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who opens the eyes of the blind. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, matir asurim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who lifts up the fallen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, roka haaretz al hamayim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who strengthens our steps. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, malbish arumim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who gives strength to the weary. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hama'avir she'ena me'enai, utnuma me'afapai. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who made me in the image of God. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, shasani bat chorin. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, who has made me a Jew. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, ozer Yisrael b'gvura. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, oter Yisrael b'tifara. It is the tradition of Temple Beth Am to add one more blessing for a miracle unique to your life. We will begin again with the first part in Hebrew, and then please add in the blessing or miracle that is unique, that is important to you. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, for the love, beauty, and wisdom that these young leaders bring to the sanctuary.
Amen. Thank you so much, Danielle. Beautiful. Love you. And now, feeling full of blessings and feeling present in this space, we turn to our prayer of Baruch Hu, a prayer that marks a moment of our service where we know we are here all together. If you're joining us online, I want to remind you, you can use the online prayer book, and even if you are here in person, if you have a tablet or phone and would like to use the digital version of the prayer book as well, all the page numbers are the same. So that makes it a lot easier if you want to follow along with us. We're just wonderfully glad that you're all here. So I invite you now to rise if you are able, as we take part in that moment of calling, of being here together, the words of Baruch Hu, which can be found on page 108. You may be seated. It is now my honor and pleasure to invite up one of our two amazing mitzvahs this morning. Sadie, come on up, and Sadie will be leading us in our blessing for morning light, which I can see the sun breaking through, even just a little bit of blue sky here today now. So Sadie, help bring on more of that sunshine as you offer us these words of Yotzer Or, which can be found on page 110.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Yotzer or uvarei choshech, oseh shalom uvarei et hakol, hameir la'aretz v'ladarim elecha barachamim, uvtuvo machadesh b'kol yom tamid, ma'aseh v'reshit, ma rabu ma'asecha Adonai, kulam b'chokhma asita, Mala haaretz kineha titbarach Adonai Eloheinu al shevach maaseh yedecha va'al meorei or shi asita ifarua selach or hadash al tzion ta'ir v'nizkeh kulanu mehera le'oro baruch atah Adonai yotzer hame'orot.
Yasher Koach, beautifully led. And for those of you who don't know, the words Yasher Koach mean with such strength, with such good work. And that's our way of saying beautiful job here in Jewish community as opposed to applauding or anything. So we can always say Yasher Koach, beautifully done. You can take a seat for a moment, Sadie. Yeah, that's fine. We continue now on page 114 with words of love, the words of Ahava Rabbah. Ahava Rabbah ahavtanu, Adonai Eloheinu, chemla gedola vitera, chamalta aleinu, va'avor avoteinu, ve'imoteinu, Shevatchu vecha, avotenu ve'imotenu, vatelamdem chukei chaim, ken techanenu tlamdenu, hamrachem, Rachem aleinu. It's 112 if I said it wrong. Venten belivenu lehavin hul haskil nishmoa lilmod ulelamed nishmor velasot ulkayem et kol divrei Talmud Torah techa behava behaerenenu betorah techa bedabek libenu bemitzvotecha ve'yached levavenu le'ahava u'yira et shemecha v'lo nevosh v'lo Shem Kodshecha Hagadol veHanora Batachnu Nagila v'nismecha Nagila v'nismecha v'yishuatecha Ve'havienu l'shalom Me'arba Kanfot haaretz v'tolichenu komemiut le'artzenu ki el po el Yeshuot וקירבתנו לשמך הגדול, סלע, סלע, באמת, להודות לך ולייחדך, ולייחדך באהבה. ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה. And now we continue on page 114 with some of the most central words of Jewish tradition, our declaration of monotheism, the words of the Shema. Now, any parent in the room knows that hearing and listening are two different things. Because oftentimes we hear, but if we really, really try, we have to listen. It takes work to listen, is what I'm trying to say. We have to try. And that's what the Shema asks of us. It says to hear, but also to listen. Listen up, O Israel. Here we are together. We are unified by our prayers. We are unified by our community. We are unified by our traditions. And we are unified by this moment. If it is your custom to rise for the Shema, I invite you to do so on page 114. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam va'ed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. If you chose to stand, you may now be seated. And it is my honor to once again invite up Sadie, who will lead us on the next page 116 in the words of the Ve'ahavta.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, בשנתם לבניך, בדיברת בם, בשנתת בביתך, ובלקשך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומינך, ugshaktam leot al yadecha, v'chayu latotafot beinenecha, ugtartam al mezuzot beitecha, uvisharecha, leman tiskeru, va'asitem et kol mitzvotai, v'item kedoshim Elohechem, Ani Adonai Elohechem, Asher hotziechem me'eretz Mitzrayim, lechod lachem le'Elohim, Ani Adonai Elohechem.
Adonai Elohechem emet Yasher Koach. Beautifully led. And so we move from those words of love now to words of freedom, that sense our Benot Mitzvah will have at the end of the service of being released from all these responsibilities, although they've been carrying it so beautifully. But certainly that sense of freedom that we all hope to have, and seeing a world that is a bit more peaceful, a world that is a bit more renewed, and may we be so blessed, a world that is just a bit more healed. And so we sing this song of freedom now as our ancestors sang it when they crossed through the Red Sea, as it split open before them, knowing and hoping that we too will see a world that will be a little bit better on the other side of that sea. Now, it is Temple Beth Am custom to dance during Micha Mocha. Unfortunately, pandemic, we don't want you dancing around the room. However, I encourage you to dance in your seats and have fun. And especially if you're at home, please, you can dance all over your room. Enjoy. So join with us for Micha Mocha. You can find that on page 122, and I hope you'll dance and enjoy with us. Adonai micha mocha ne'etar b'kodesh Nora tehilot osefele Nora tehilot osefele Shir achadasha shivhu ge'ulim Al timcha svat hayam Yachad kulam hodu join me for this part. Yai dai dai. Yai dai 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 yai da da dai yai da dai. Yai dai 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 yai da dai dai dai. Yai dai da dai dai yai dai yai da dai. Yai dai 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 yai dai 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 dai. Keep that energy up. I loved that. Especially because now it is my honor to invite up Amelie forward to help lead us in our service. Amelie will be leading us in the blessings of the Amidah, the Tefillah, one of our central sections of prayer. And that begins on page 124. I invite you to please rise if you are able.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu. Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor V'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Konei Hakol V'Zocher Chaste Avot V'Imahot Umevi Gula Livnei V'Nehem Lima'an Shemo Be'ahava Melech Hoser Umoshiach Umagen Baruch Atah Adonai Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah Atah Gibor Leolam Adonai Mechaye HaKol Atah Rav Lehoshia Morid Hatal Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed Mechaye HaKol Berachamim Rabim Somech Noflim Verofei Cholim Umatir Asurim Umekayem Emunato Lishnei Afar Michamocha Baal Gevurot Umido Melach Melech Memit Umechaya Umatzmiach Yeshua V'ne'eman Ata Lechachayot HaKol Baruch Ata Adonai Mechaye HaKol.
Thank you so much, Amelie. We continue on page 130 with the Kedusha. Nekadesh et shimcha ba'olam keshem shemakdishim oto b'shmei marom kakatuv al yad neviecha nekara ze el ze ve'amar kadosh 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 Adonai Tzevaot Meloch ol haaretz kevodo Adir Adirenu Adonai Adonenu Ma'adir Shimcha B'chol haaretz Baruch Kevod Adonai Mimkomo Echad Hu Eloheinu Hu Avinu Hu Malkeinu Hu Moshienu Vehu Yashmienu Berachamav Le'enei kol chai Ani Adonai Elohechem Imloch Adonai le'olam Elohaich Tzion Ledor vador Ledor vador nagid God lecha Ulenetzach netzachim kedushatcha nagdish V'shivacha Eloheinu mipinu lo yamush leolam Vahed Baruch Atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh. We sanctify this day further on the following on page 134. Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu רצה במנוחתנו, קדשנו במצוותיך, ותן חלקנו בתורתך. סבנו מטובך, ושמחנו בישועתך, וטהר ליבנו לעבדך באמת, והנהילנו אדוני אלוהינו באהבה וברצון, שבת קודשך ואנובה ישראל, מקדשי שמך, ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש HaShabbat. And now we'll take the next few moments to pray quietly. You can either use the words on the following pages up until about 142, or you can use the meditations of your own heart. When your prayers are completed, I invite you to be seated. I did not mean for that to rhyme, but I do invite you to take this moment for personal prayer. Kedushatcha Nakdish. I need your help for this one. Ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador nagid godlecha. Ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador nagid godlecha. Ulenetzach netzachim, ulenetzach netzachim. Kedushatcha, kedushatcha Nakdish. Mipinu lo yamush, mipinu lo yamush. Leolam, leolam vaed. Here we go. Ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador nagid godlecha. Ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador nagid godlecha. Mipinu lo yamush, mipinu lo yamush. Leolam, leolam vaed. Netzach netzachim, ulenetzach netzachim. Kedushatcha, kedushatcha Nakdish. Ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador nagid godlecha. Ledor vador, לדור ודור נגיד God lecha.
I just figured I'd come up and give a little help in the Ruach
Well, generation
department.
to generation added Ruach, a beautiful thing of rabbi generation to rabbi generation.
I think I'm being called old.
No.
That's
Wisdom, Rabbi
oh,
Ruth.
wisdom, yeah, that's it. But in all joking aside, like really that's what Shabbat's all about. It's about the sense of celebration that we take in this very moment right now, but we recognize that we are continuing the celebration of Shabbat that has come down to us, L'dor v'dor, from generation to generation, and that we are assured will continue on because the next generation is taking hold of Torah in their own right. And so we have come now to our Seder Kriyat HaTorah, our service for reading Torah, and thank you for that. And it is our belief that this is a sacred moment in the life cycle of a young person who is receiving Torah, in the life cycle of their parents and grandparents and loved ones, but also in the life cycle of a congregation. It looks like Fran has it. And so we're going to invite Fran Rourke up. Fran and Ronnie are our shamashim today. We're so grateful. Fran is going to represent the fact that this Torah is being received by the next generation is a gift not just to these young individuals and their family, but to our community. So thank you, Fran, for sharing a blessing from our congregation with our young people.
Thank you, Rabbi. We thank God for the gift of Torah and for the wondrous opportunity to share it with a new generation. Today, you ensure the continuation of the legacy of Moses and Miriam, who first taught Torah to our people. As we prepare to hand the Torah to you now, it is our hope that just as you will carry it in your hands today, you will carry it within your heart always as a perpetual expression of faith in God and commitment to your people.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Fran, for representing Temple Beth Am at this joyous moment. And so, it's now time to actually pass Torah down, door l'dor, from generation to generation, into the arms of Amelie and Sadie. And so it is such an honor to invite these two friends from just about birth, or even these two. You guys have been friends for your whole lives, basically. So this is not just like, one family handing down and another family handing down. I think it's fair to say this is like one big family handing down Torah. So let us invite your parents who made all of this possible, I might say, Sarah and Chopper and Lauren and Timothy, and then your grandparents as well. We invite Levy and Lenore Koplovich, Ruth Craver, Ivor and Joan Sachs, and Bob and Joanne Schmidt to our bima. We continue with our blessings for the Seder Kriyat HaTorah, the service for reading Torah. It's on page 244 of your prayer book, and I invite you to rise in body or spirit. Okay, and which one do you want to take?
Ein kemocha va'Elohim Adonai ve'ein kema'asecha Malchutcha malchut kol olamim U'memseltecha bechol dor v'dor Adonai melech Adonai malach Adonai imach le'olam va'ed Adonai oz le'amo yitain Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom.
Sadie and Amelie, here we are. The rabbis teach that this moment is filled with awe Can you hear it? Just like that moment when our ancestors stood at the foot of Mount Sinai to receive this Torah in love, and it was passed down door, lador, from generation to generation to generation. When our ancestors took hold of this Torah, believed its words were paths to peace, it helped them in times of sorrow, it increased their joys in times of delight. And now we come to this moment when in your hands, Amelie, in your hands, Sadie, we place this Torah with the same faith and love that was given then, and we ask you and you to hand it to the next generation when the time comes with the same faith and love with which we give it to you now.
Continue with the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh
honor to invite Levi and Lenore Koplovich and Ezra Craver to come forward to help us undress Torah as Rabbi Dana returns that Torah to the Ark. And our grandparents can be seated. Come on over. Will you take the yacht off? Take the yacht, the silver thing. You can take that off. And you can just put it right over on the podium. You may be seated. I'll take that. Do you want me to give your sister a hug for this pump portion? Then you can go back to your seat.
You may be seated.
And will you, Rabbi Dana? It's okay. Mm-hmm. Will you just get the departure? Kind of. So, we are about to engage in Torah, and when we say that, there are two different ways we do that. We hear the words of Torah, and every time we say Torah out loud, we actually are able to hear it slightly differently because each person chants in their own way. But there's also the Torah of our souls, the wisdom of our souls that comes out when we study Torah. And we are so blessed to have two incredible teachers of Torah with us today. And so it is an honor to invite forward Amelie, who will be introducing us to this week's Torah portion. It's Parshat Naso, which means to lift up one person's head. And it will be wonderful to hear from Amelie a unique interpretation of one aspect of this week's Torah portion. So come on forward, my friend. Take a nice deep breath. 1 second. Let me just get that.
My Torah portion, Parsha Naso, has several parts. First, it lists the duties of different families or clans, as it is translated. Second, it shares how to punish a woman who cheated. Third, it teaches about the Nazarites and the things they're forbidden from and required to do. And finally, there's a section on all sorts of priest-related things, from list of sacrifices to blessings. However, in my opinion, the most interesting part of this parsha is the priestly blessing, a blessing that God told to Moses, who was, in turn, to pass it on to Aaron and his sons, who were, in turn, to pass it on to the people of Israel. I would assume a lot of you have heard it before. The Eternal bless you and protect you. The Eternal deal kindly and graciously with you. The Eternal bestow divine favor upon you and grant you peace. Thus they shall link my name with the people of Israel, and I will bless them. There are two things that strike me about this blessing from God to the people of Israel. First, God says Elecha, the singular form of you. God is speaking to each Israelite individually. But that's a whole other topic, and if I were to elaborate on that, I would be writing a whole other Devar Torah. Second, most prayers are about us promising something to God. This was interesting because it's not about what we will do for God, but what God will do for us. This is such a small detail, but it is important. The idea of God giving without expecting anything from us in return is an aspect of Judaism that isn't often illustrated, but it is in Parsha Naso and in this specific blessing. If you can think of anything off the top of your head where God gave something to the Jews without something we gave back, I applaud you. But many, many times, God did want something back. Even when he led us out of Egypt, one could argue that this was done to preserve God's following. And God expected the devotion of that and subsequent generations of Jews. Almost everything has a catch, but this doesn't. And that's what makes this blessing so unique. This is probably not the point of the prayer, but it's what really caught my attention. Prayers are usually seen by the world as imploring whatever deity you believe in to do things for you, often in exchange for something. But here in this section of the Torah, in this blessing, God promises to bless and protect us without expectation of obedience or reward. And isn't this what a B'nai Mitzvah project is all about? Giving back to communities, even if it's not Jewish or local or not even yours? This prayer is about God giving love to the Jewish community, promising to smile on them and treat them with kindness. And a B'nai Mitzvah project is about giving to the community, promising aid and help to people who need it, much like this blessing. Most blessings and prayers have an underlying note of responsibility. It's like we get the responsibility from God to always help our community. But with this blessing, there's not a lot of that responsibility. It's just meant to be received and taken in. In fact, as the modern Reformed Jewish writer Ira Yudovin says, in word and deed and in bestowing an ancient blessing at important times in people's lives, all of us can help make God's presence felt in the world around us. It's like, sit back, relax, I'll always be there. And that's nice to hear. It's always nice to know someone is helping you, isn't it? Even with the smallest of things, like, say, someone emptying the cat litter box while you're practicing for something important. Thank you for that, by the way, Mommy. It can feel amazing. Even just giving someone a little chocolate will make their day, as I have recently witnessed. But it's a short reprieve because this is a very short blessing, and after we immediately head back into the realm of responsibility, which is not anywhere anyone ever wants to be. So, in conclusion, do good things without expecting anything in return, and make sure to give people a, however brief, reprieve from responsibility. Even God needed a day off to rest, after all.
Yasher Koach. And so you may notice we say things like Yasher Koach, which is a Hebrew way of saying all the power to you. Thank you for your incredible words of wisdom. And now we get to hear these words of Torah, beautifully articulated. I think I saw Fran handing out some commentaries. We are reading from the book of Numbers, chapter 4. Amelie will start on verse 29, and that is on page 1044 of our traditional Plout commentary. Again, it's Numbers chapter 4, verse 29. If you're watching online, the link should be on Sepharia, and you just type in Numbers 4, verse 29. We're so grateful that you are ready. Let's get this a little more stable for you. you want to, but wonderful. And so now we invite your aunt and uncle to come forward to offer the words of blessing. Thank you. So Rachel Douglas and Jonathan Koplovich, we invite you up for the Aliyah.
יעמדו רחל בת יצחק בן נור ויונתן ויצחק בן נור לעלייה ראשונה. ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
אמן.
בני מררי למשפחותם לבית אבותם תפקוד אותם מבין 30 שנה ומעלה ועד בין 50 שנה תפקדם כל הבא לצבא לעבוד את עבודת אוהל מועד וזאת משמרת מסעם לכל עבודתם באוהל מועד קרשי המשכן ובריחיו ועמודיו ואדניו ועמודי החצר סביב ואדניהם ויתדותם ומטריהם לכל כליהם ולכל עבודתם ובשמות תפקדו את כלי משמרת מסעם. זאת עבודת משפחות בני מררי לכל עבודתם באוהל מועד ויד איתמר בן אהרון הכהן.
And if you'll do the blessing after.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נתן בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen. And we're going to invite you, if you'd like, to give a little hug to Amelie before you go back to your seat. I always feel like no blessing is complete this family knows how to hug. That's impressive. And so now, Amelie, we are about to call you up for the very first time as a bat mitzvah, and I know there are two people who it will mean the world to them to be by your side at this moment, your mother and your father, Sarah and Chopper, as we call you up as a bat mitzvah in a very special way.
הכל הבו גודל אלוהינו ותנו כבוד לתורה תעמוד הבת מצווה Amili Vatsara Lea Ve'Yaakov Yakir Le'ali Ashnia.
Someone else is excited too.
Baruch et Adonai HaMevarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Hamim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Ata Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Vayifkod Moshe ve'Aharon Unesiei ha'eda et b'nei ha'kehati lamishpechotam uleved avotam mi ben sheloshim shana v'mala ve'ad ben hamishim shana kol haba latzava la'avoda be'ohel moed vahiyu fekudehem lamishpechotam alpayim sheva me'ot ve'hamishim Eila fekudei mishpechot hakehati kol ha'oved be'ohel moed asher pakad Moshe ve'Aharon al pi Adonai ve'yad Moshe.
Yasher Koach, beautiful job, and the blessing after.
Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Natan Lanu Torah Temet V'chayei Olam Nata B'tochenu Baruch Ata Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. And I know the sense of pride and joy that we're feeling right now. I can only imagine for the two of you. With our Torah open before us, it is a particularly good time to offer blessings. You can stand on it. You don't have to. Whatever works for you as a family, just make sure you're by the mic.
Let's see if we can make it. Okay, Amelie, just take a moment to look around you and breathe this moment in. This sanctuary is an extension of your home, and wherever you are in the world, we hope you will always feel at home in the presence of your people.
Today in your Devar Torah, you did what millions of Jews have done before you. You offered your unique perspective on words that have been reiterated and discussed and debated for thousands of years. And you do love a good debate. Though typically you prefer to remonstrate on the topics of Star Wars or Lord of the Rings and less on liturgy. Now you know we love passionate, fiery people. But what we love even more is that you know that the world is changed, not by your opinion, but by your example. We have seen you mature immensely over the past year as you've prepared for this milestone. We have watched you develop discipline and commitment. We have watched your joy as you've connected with your culture in new ways. We've listened as you've reflected on the privilege to be bat mitzvahed that was heinously robbed of 1 million Jewish children, members of your family among them. We've witnessed you apply your strength in reading and writing to tutor a young Sudanese refugee for your bat mitzvah project. With each of these acts, you have evolved. You have shifted from having an opinion on how the world should be to advancing a world as you think it could be. We could not be more proud.
So, here is our blessing to you, which, like Hashem's priestly blessing, we give to you without expectation of anything in return, except perhaps that you get back to cleaning out the cat box. May your Judaism not be just something inherited, but something to be discovered, explored, and personalized. May you continue to be intelligent and inquisitive, healthy and humorous, creative and curious, honest and loyal, loving and responsible. May your sense of fairness and justice remain acutely tuned. May you continue to rebel against the world when it doesn't live up to your expectations. Continue to make your family kvel, but above all, make yourself proud. You already have made us proud beyond words.
Amen. And if you like, you could conclude that blessing with one, oh, this family really knows how to hug. Beautiful. And so, Amelie, I'll invite you to sit next to your friend and your sister, and mazel tov to all of you. Really, there's something so powerful about the blessings that are said in front of an open Torah scroll. And we also believe not only are these the right blessings for, my mic is not on. That's good. I wasn't really saying anything important anyway. What I was saying is how beautiful it is to watch blessings that happen in front of an open Torah scroll. These are particularly beautiful blessings, the blessings of parents to a child. But I loved what you said about how this sanctuary is an extension of your home. And really, we believe that anyone, you may walk in as a friend or a stranger or a member, but everyone who's here, we want you to feel at home. And we recognize that with the scroll open before us, it is important that we also share the prayers of community. Particularly, we always make sure to share moments of healing, because we know there are some among you who are sitting at home right now, who have walked through the doors of this sanctuary, who are in pain and in need of healing, or perhaps there are those in your lives who you want to offer up prayers for. We, as always, think about those in our country who are healing from the wounds of gun violence. We think about those on shores farther away who are healing from wounds of war. And we recognize that there are many, many who suffer silently from the wounds of injustice. For all of them, we offer up our prayers of healing. And we'd like to invite you to share out loud the name of anyone that you'd like to include as I look around. For everyone we've named out loud and anyone we may hold in our hearts, we continue with our Mishaberach Lecholim, our prayer for healing. Page 253.
Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say,
May each and every one know a full and speedy recovery of body and of soul. I love when there are the sounds of children in a sanctuary. I think it helps remind us how alive this moment really is. And so it's also so powerful. What I love about a Shabbat morning service when a young person is called to Torah is we do hear the wisdom throughout the ages. And so the time has come now to also hear from Sadie. Sadie will also share a Devar Torah, a teaching of wisdom that she has learned from this Torah portion. And Rabbi Dana, if you'll just help Sadie get set up with the Devar Torah, that would be awesome.
I will.
Whoops. Yeah, let's try not to get hurt on this. That would be awesome. And take a nice deep breath in. And then we look forward to hearing your wisdom.
In reading my Torah portion, Naso, we read, if any wife has gone astray and broken faith with her husband, meaning she has carnal relations with a man unbeknown to her husband, and there is no witness against her, but a fit of jealousy comes over the husband, and he is wrought up about the wife who has defiled herself, or about the wife who has not defiled herself, the husband shall bring his wife to the priest. This is saying that even if a wife did not cheat, but her husband thought she did, or was just jealous, he has the right to bring her before the priest for a strange ritual. I was frustrated by the unfair way women were treated by our ancestors in this parsha, and struggled with what that meant for Judaism in the modern day. It is clear from the text in the Torah that men were given a significant amount of power and control over the women in their society. Unfortunately, women, as well as other minorities and vulnerable populations, are still treated poorly because of the influence of the Bible. Rabbi and Professor Pinchas Peli, a 20th century Orthodox rabbi from Israel, shared in his commentary that this ritual could restore trust, even though this ritual could also break a lot of relationships. He says, sometimes bitterness, suspicion, anger, and pain nearly destroy a marriage. In such situations, one needs to drink the water of bitterness to restore trust, mutual respect, and understanding. I see that he is trying to find good in this ritual, but I still do not think it's okay. He does not question the power difference between the husband, wife, and priest, or challenge how the ritual has impacted individuals who are still wrongly accused and abused by their partners. We must strive for a greater sense of trust and respect in the present day as we approach romantic relationships with our friends and family, and as we approach members of our community. Issues of power and control exist in modern-day life and extend from interpersonal relationships to larger issues of inequality based on race, gender, economic status, and other forms of oppression. For example, if someone is accused of stealing, they might not have done it, but if someone thinks so, they could go to jail. We have seen cases where both police and/or public bias shifts the court to make an unfair decision. The Equal Justice Initiative shares that there are more innocent people in our jails and prisons than ever before. The rate of exonerations continue to rise, revealing an unreliable system of criminal justice. A lack of accountability for police and legal counsel, reliance on junk science and mistaken eyewitnesses, and the indigent defense crisis are major contributors to wrongful convictions that have undermined the credibility of our system and ruined the lives of innocent men and women. Between wrongful convictions, police brutality, and unchecked racial biases, we see how complicated and flawed our justice system is. Sometimes, no matter the evidence or testimony of an individual, they may not be able to clear their name because of their race, ethnicity, gender and sexual identities, their wealth and means, or because of the years of institutional oppression. We also see this in regards to women within the workplace and access to decisions about a woman's own body. The Supreme Court's recent decisions about Roe v. Wade highlights this issue. In Parsha Naso, we see how little a woman's voice mattered in her own decisions of the body and relationship, and we seem to be fighting the same issues today. Women and all people should be able to make decisions regarding their own bodies without the control being held by a partner, or worse, a government. The invention of cell phones and tracking have only made the situation worse. You can track people through social media, through applications, and can access their communication with friends and family. Some people abuse this access to information as a way to control and manipulate their partners. I would hope that we have matured as a society, and even though some haven't, I still think the right thing to do is interpret Torah rules as lessons from the past that we can look to make our community better and evaluate how some of these practices may be continuing in different modern ways. We can get rid of strange rituals like the one mentioned in my Torah portion, and also learn from it as we grow as people in a more just society. If we understand and explore these difficult parts of the Torah, it can help us see how these issues still exist in our world today and encourage us to be a part of creating change. To summarize this, all people should be treated with equal rights, and some practices of the past are examples to continue and remember from. We can continue to reject some of these examples as ancient rituals, or we can look at the message they sent to continue to send to women and girls. We can use the study of the Parsha to make us more aware of the hurtful and long-term impact of our stories and traditions on women and girls, people of color, and other vulnerable individuals. For me, being Jewish and having a healthy relationship means to love who you love, no matter their gender, but to ensure that neither person is holding unequal control over the other. It doesn't matter who you love, you just have to be happy, to be respectful, and to create deep trust in one another. Being in a Jewish community to me means that you extend your trust to others in your community, as well as use your voice and stand up for injustices that continue to happen due to the lack of trust, bias, and judgment. I hope this Parsha teaches us that we must strive for equality and autonomy in choices around one's bodies, and to ensure that no one continues to be oppressed by this unchecked control. Shabbat Shalom.
Yasher Koach. I want to thank both of you for taking what is really, in some ways, one of the more challenging Torah portions, because it has all of these obsolete and strange rituals like the ordeal for the woman accused of adultery or the Nazirite. And both of you helped us so much to recognize how we can uphold righteousness today based on exploring and sometimes wrestling with that text. Yasher Koach, beautiful job. Unfortunately, your work isn't quite done yet, Sadie, because we still need for you to chant Torah. And while you and Rabbi Dana make sure we get to the right space, it's my honor to invite some of your loved ones forward for your first, but our third aliyah of the morning. And so I invite your aunt and uncle, Elisa Sachs and Adam Sachs, as well as your cousins, I think, Ezra Price and Liza Jane Price, forward.
יעמדו עליזה בת יצחק ולאה ואדם בן יצחק ולאה ועזרא בן עליזה ומרק ויעל בת עליזה ממרק לעלייה שלישי.
Baruch hu et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen.
Amen.
Ufekudei b'nei Gershon lemishpechotam ulevet avotam mi ben shiloshim shana v'mala ve'ad ben hamishim shana kol haba latzava la'avoda be'ohel moed vayu pekudeham lemishpechotam laved avotam al paim v'shesh me'od usheloshim Eila pekudei mishpechot b'nei Gershon kol ha'oved be'ohel moed asher Hakad Moshe Ve'Aharon Al Pi Adonai.
Yasher Koach. Beautiful job. And the blessing after.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai notein haTorah.
Amen. And let's see how your family does for hugs. You're more than welcome to give Sadie a hug. Very nicely done. And while this is going on, I'm going to invite two people that Sadie knows very well, Lauren and Timothy, to come on up because, Sadie, it is our honor to invite you to this Torah for the very first time as a bat mitzvah.
Hakol havu godel Eloheinu utnu kavod leTorah ta'amod habat mitzvah shechina bat lior v'timoti le'aliyah revi'i.
First one.
Baruchu et Adonai Hamevorach.
Baruch Adonai hamborach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai notein haTorah.
Amen. Beautiful.
Ufekudei mishpechot banei Merari lamishpechotam laved avotam mi ben shiloshim shana v'mala ve'ad ben hamishim shana kol haba latzava lavoda be'ohel moed Vayu pekudehem lamish pechotam shiloshet alafim umatayim.
Yasher Koach. And now, the blessing after.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai notein haTorah.
Amen. And again, Sadie, what a blessing you've been to our community this morning. I know you've been a blessing to your parents from the moment you were born. They'd like to offer words of blessing to you in front of the open ark. I'm going to invite you to also get closer to the mic.
Okay. See if I can live up to your eloquence. Sadie, like many generations before you, you stand here after many months of preparation, poised and more mature and confident than when you started. It is a true honor to be your parents and to watch you navigate the world through your humble and compassionate lens. To see you build friendships with others that are kind and funny, just like you, and to watch you nurture your brother Miles, our dog Oscar, and younger cousins with great care. When you were little, you used to say, "I do myself," and that you have, at your own pace and by carving out your own voice. Today is the day we celebrate your spiritual maturity, but it is not the day you stop learning and contributing. May you continue to learn from the lessons of the Torah, like all lessons of the past, with room to grow and define your own identity as a Jew, just as you have inspired us today with your Devar Torah. Look for ways to heal the community around you and find ways to perform acts of tikkun olam. Through such acts of loving kindness, may you live to see your world evolve around you to become more inclusive and equitable world for everyone.
We wish for you to never stop being brave and curious when trying new things. To never temper your voice when you see injustice. To never stop expanding your circle as your friendships continue to be rich and rewarding.
Always remember that there is power in your observations of the world and that you can make change around you. And that we will always be here to cheer you on as you move forward and hold you tight when the world feels like it could swallow you up. Because you don't always have to do it yourself. We love you and are so proud of you today and always.
And as a community, we say amen, that amen. I think the hugs say it all. And so mazel tov to one and all. There's some kind of secret handshake going on, I'm not even going to ask. But mazel tov to you, really. So wonderful.
And so it's my honor to invite up, no, you're good. It's my honor to invite up Grandfather Ivor to come on up and help us, as well as Miles, as well as, Joanne, are you joining us as well? Or Joan, yeah, are you joining us too? Come on, Joan, I'll take you too. Joan, Miles, and Ivor are going to help us with the lifting and dressing of the Torah, and I'm also going to invite up to help us in this moment a few other individuals, Miles Schmidt, Imogen Hawkins, and Miles Crape, Ezra. Where's Ezra? Come on up, Ezra.
And if you will please rise in body or in spirit as we return the Torah to the Ark. We're just going to need one of those chairs. Come over here. And then you can hug whoever is yours, and everyone else can be seated. Or whoever's not yours, too, because as we said, this is kind of like one big family here, so wonderful. Well, now I'd like to invite Sadie and Amelie to please come back to the Bima, because the time has come now to read what is known as Haftarah. When I was a kid, I always thought this sounded like half Torah, and I thought it was maybe a little piece of the Torah portion that we were supposed to read, but it's actually from the Hebrew word for additional. There are additional sacred texts that we read on Shabbat morning. It's really ingenious, if you think about it, that over 2,000 years ago, 2,500 years ago, there was a decision to read sacred texts in public and create rituals around it as a way to help keep the community together, but also as a way to keep our wisdom moving from generation to generation. And the rabbis were concerned if we only read from the first 5 books of the Hebrew Bible known as Torah, we may lose some of the other stories. And so the Haftarah are from the second section of the Hebrew Bible, known as Nevi'im, or prophets. And our Benot Mitzvah are going to read from the book of Judges. It is chapter 13, verses 9 through 11. And it looks like Sadie's going to begin and Amelie is going to pick up, and one or the other of them is going to do the blessing before and the blessing after. If you'd like to follow along, it's on page 1256 in the Plout commentary, the Torah commentary, or again on Sepharia, it's Judges chapter 13, starting with verse 9.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nvi'im tovim v'ratza b'divreihem hane'emarim be'emet Baruch atah Adonai Chabocher Batorah Uv Moshe Avdo Uv Yisrael Amo Uvin Vieh Ha'emet Vatzedek Vayishma Ha'Elohim B'kol Manoah Vayavo Malah Ha-Elohim Od El Haisha Vahi Uv Moshe Vet Basadeh Umanoah Isha Ein Ima Vatameher Haisha Vatarotz Vataged Laisha Vatomer Elav Hine Nira Elahai Haish Asher Bavayom Elai Vayakom Vayelech Manoach Acharei Ishto Vayavo El Haish Vayomer Lo Hata Haish Asher Dibarta El Haisha Vayomer Ani Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam tzur kol haolamim tzadik bechol hadorot ha'el ha'ne'eman hayomer ve'oseh hamdaber umkayem shekol devarav emet vatzedek al haTorah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al hanaviim ve'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu likdusha v'limnucha lechavod ultifaret al hakol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim lach umvarchim otach Nitbarach Shimcha B'fi Kol Chai Tamid Le'olam Ba'ed Baruch Atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Amen. Amen. Yasher Kochachen. And so I'm going to have you two stand facing Rabbi Ruth and I. So, yep, there you go. Perfect. Like we've practiced. Amazing. And now Rabbi Ruth and I get to offer you words of blessing in this moment. Amelie and Sadie, you've known each other since you were itty bitty. We've talked about that today. I only got to get to know you over the past few years, but I remember meeting both of you in my first year when I was starting here at Beth Am. And I could never have imagined getting to stand here with you both today. It is incredible to see how you've grown, how you've changed, how you've stayed the same, and how you've been driven by some of the values that you've held dear even since you were little. Amelie, I'm pretty sure that you've read more pages of books than I'm ever going to get to. You're smart as a whip. You love to read. You love to engage on all kinds of topics and find, with our shared nerddom, lots of places to see how the world can be better, lots of teachings from all kinds of places, and connect them into your own Jewish identity. Sadie, you have a sense of wit that is unparalleled. You always can find a way to make someone smile and make them feel at ease. You're creative, and both of you, although they are different ways, you both have natural leadership instincts. As Rabbi Ruth and I said before the service, the Jewish people will be forever changed because of you becoming an adult in it. I'm so excited to see where the journey continues to take you as you continue to pursue justice in your own unique and individual ways, and as you continue to help lead us as well into the future of what Judaism will look like. And so we take one of the oldest blessings of tradition, one that you shared about, Amelie, so beautifully from your Torah portion, the words of the priestly benediction. Yevarechecha Adonai ve'yishmerecha.
Amelie, Sadie, may God bless you and keep you always.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yichunecha.
And may the light of the divine that so clearly shines forth from you shine upon you and always be gracious to you.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha ve'yasem lecha shalom.
And as you recognize that today is in many ways the beginning of your Jewish journey, may you know that the divine is with you every step of the way, and may God always bless you, Sadie, and you, Amelie, with peace. And let us say, Amen.
You may take a seat.
Or stay standing.
Or stay standing.
And we'll invite you to rise in body or spirit as we continue with Aleinu L'Shabeach at the top of page 282. Do you guys want to open the ark?
Aleinu L'Shabeach L'Adon HaKol Latet Gedula Leotze Breshit Shehu Noteh Shamayim Vayosed Haaretz ומושב יקרו והשמיים ממעל ושכינת עוזו בגובהי מרובים הוא אלוהינו אין עוד ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
Please be seated. So the time has come. In the same way that we always ensure that we have a moment of prayers for healing, we also, in Judaism, the idea of memory is a sacred act. It's not a passive act, it's an active way of engaging in relationships with those who are no longer with us. On this very special Shabbat morning, Sadie's family would like to remember Abe and Rose Sachs, Bob and Helen Peterson, William and Mary Schmidt, Joseph and Mary Wilson, Basil Sachs, Lillian Sachs, Joe Wilson and Mary Scott. And Amelie's family would like to remember these loved ones: George Craver, Cecilia Stess, Ira Zustess. In addition, our community is remembering at this time these loved ones in our own circle of congregational life. To be laid to rest in the week ahead is Elaine Kirschbaum Harris, mother of Linda, mother-in-law of Jerry Lieberman, grandmother of Rebecca. Elaine was also the sister to Julianne Peaks and the mother of Gail and Jeffrey, the mother-in-law of Jerry, another Jerry, and Stacy. And in all, Elaine has 6 grandchildren and 6 great-grandchildren. We're also remembering these loved ones who have died in the month that has passed: Keith Copland, husband of Merle, father of Heidi Turner, and Morris Grober, father of Heidi Turner. We also remember Ruth Levinson, mother of Linda Freed and David Levinson, and mother-in-law of Alan and Vicky of blessed memory, and grandmother to Jacob and Sarah. We're remembering Shirley Pollock, aunt of Puddin Cox, and Rose Waldman, grandmother of Amy Horn, great-grandmother to Sophie, Lucy, and Molly. We're also remembering these loved ones whose yard site, the anniversary of their death, falls at this time: Greg Anderson, Beatty Bergita, Henry Blower, Jean Block, Ida Brunel, Charles Campbell, Sharon Cornell, Angela Crickman, Lori Fagan, Jack Fagan, Eleanor Fine, Michelle Fingerroot, Max Gervich, Arlette Haim, Betty Hirschman, Alberta Kennelly, Richard Layton, Arthur Miller, Harry Newman, Martin Parker, Rose Helen Rossner, Jonathan Roth, Marvin Rubin, Matthew Schooler, Bess Silverman, A.B. Small, Jeanette Smith, and Charlotte Thalheimer. We also invite you to share out loud the name of anyone that you might be thinking of at this time of memory. It's our custom to acknowledge the mourners, so if you have lost a loved one in the last week, or the last month, or the last year, we invite you to rise. Or if you are here on this Shabbat commemorating a yard site, to please rise. And then as one community, let us rise in body or spirit to keep the legacy and memory of these loved ones alive, and also to say Kaddish for those who may have died anonymously with no one to say Kaddish for them. The Mourner's Kaddish is on page 294. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei rabbah, v'alma divra chirute v'amlik malchute, v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chaye dekol Beit Yisrael, Bagala ubizman kari v'yimru, amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarak leolam almei almaya, yit barak v'yishtabak v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yithalev v'yithalal shemei dekudashabrichu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran v'alma v'yimru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'yimru, amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael, v'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'yimru, amen. Zikronam livracha, may their memory forever be a blessing, amen. And so please be seated. We are almost there. Everybody is, of course, invited to our celebratory Shabbat Kiddush lunch, but there's one more official thing to do. I'm going to invite our Banot Mitzvah to come forward. I'm thinking that these are good for, I'm hoping I get the right one for the right person, but we have some gifts. Not only do we have blessings to offer to you because you've been a blessing to us, each of you has been a gift to us. And we'll sort them out after services and get them to the right individual. But just to let you know, there are certificates so that if someone ever says to you, I was not honored as a bat mitzvah in front of my community, you can say, yes, I was. I have a certificate. Okay, that's number one. It's also helpful down the road for simchas with Hebrew names. That's what we found. We also have a couple of prayer books. These are prayer books to use at home. They have traditional prayers, but also some creative new prayers, and we hope that you use them with lots of love and joy with friends and family. And no prayer moment is complete without saying Kiddush, and you now officially have your own Kiddush cups. Again, we'll hand them to you afterwards, but I'm thinking actually this might be a good opportunity for you to practice saying Kiddush. And so if Rabbi Dana will go and get our Kiddush cups and our motzi challah, I would just like to say thank you to everyone. Thank you to Alex for your beautiful accompaniment. Thank you, Jamie, for making sure we can be heard and seen when we need to be heard and seen. Thank you to Ronnie and to Fran for being our Shamashim Gidolim, and we can show our gratitude particularly to Fran and Ronnie by returning our prayer books to the cart at the back. But mostly we hope that you will join us for part of Shabbat, we say, is an Oneg Shabbat. Part of the commandment is to take joy in being in community together. Certainly these two young leaders have made it really easy to take joy in being in community together. So we'll say our blessings, and then we look forward to seeing you at the Kiddush lunch. First, we'll do a closing song, though. But first, can you lift up the cups? And we'll sing Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. And we promise it's grape juice, just FYI.
Why is it clear?
What?
It's clear. Clear grape juice.
It's grape juice. Grapefruit?
What?
It's grape juice, I promise. We'll take those, and then if you both will take hold. And we do this, I don't know, maybe you'd like to stand up. It's been a long service. And we used to do this arm in arm in a very groovy West Coast kind of way, but we're still in COVID. So we're going to invite you, you can put your arm around the person if you feel like it, but if you want to be safe, we just do sort of elbow to elbow as together we interlock our blessings of this Shabbat morning, and we do our blessing over the challah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'tei avot. And I'll take this, and Rabbi Dana, will you let us know what our closing song is?
Yes, our closing song is Oseh Shalom, so you can stay on page 294. It's the words at the bottom. Let us sing together. Shabbat Shalom.